Good afternoon. Please stand for the singing of the national anthem. Great job, guys.
Wonderful job.
Thank you to our choir and, of course, our staff for supporting those learners. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Susquehanna Township High School. We are honored to host today's press conference and to welcome our distinguished guests. In our attendance today, we have Senator Patty Kim, we have Representative Dave Madsen, our school board members, we're grateful to have them, as well as our township commissioners. Thank you all for joining us today. Our Commonwealth has taken a significant step forward with the passage of the new state budget, one that makes historic investments in public school and directly supports what is happening in schools like ours today. These resources will strengthen our academic programs, expand student opportunities, and help districts meet the needs of every learner. Here in Susquehanna Township, we are already seeing the impact of these investments. As the number of preschool students arriving with needed intervention services continues to grow, the historic increase in special ed funding will greatly enhance our ability to meet those students' needs. At the same time, we are well positioned to expand our cadet teaching program, which provides a pathway for high school students who aspire to enter the teaching profession at a moment when the Commonwealth faces a severe teacher shortage. Through this innovative model, students can transition into support staff roles in our classrooms immediately after graduation, and the district can then cover their college tuition as they work toward full teacher certification. This creates a full circle approach that grows our own educators, supports our learners, and builds a sustainable work pipeline for the future. It is my privilege to introduce someone who has been a steadfast advocate for Pennsylvania students and our educators. His leadership and commitment to equitable school funding have been central to this year's budget and the progress that it represents. Please join me in welcoming the Governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Governor Josh Shapiro.
Thank you, Dr. Willis. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Willis. And it is good to be back here. I want to just say that I've had the opportunity, I know I'm a little bit late, I apologize. I've had the opportunity to visit with some of the students from the cadet program. I had other students peering out their doors to come say hello. I met one teacher here who graduated with our daughter from Pitt who got a student teacher stipend, which helped land her here at Susquehanna Township. And I gotta say, it just fills up my cup to see students learning in an environment where they get to learn how to be their best selves and explore so many different options. And Dr. Willis, that's exactly what you've built here in this school district. And so I'm grateful to be here today to talk about some of the important work we've done together to advance education, but I'm also grateful that you gave me a chance just to have my cup filled back up by these wonderful young learners. So thank you very, very much. You're going to get the chance to hear from Cole in a minute. Again, I spent some time with his colleagues, his fellow students in the cadet class. These are really, really special young people, so I'm excited for you to hear from Cole. I also just need to give a shout out to your, I think, assistant football coach, Eric Ramsey. He is married to Claire Ramsey, who runs the governor's residence for us. We got a wonderful special relationship with that family, and Isaiah and Elise graduated from here. So we got a lot of connections to this wonderful school. And I also really wanted to be here today for the opportunity to congratulate in person, in public, within 24 hours of her confirmation, Dr. Rowe, who is now officially the Secretary of Education here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. She's been on the job for a long time doing it, but the Senate just got around to confirming her, and we're really grateful for the overwhelming bipartisan vote, and she's going to do an amazing job for many years to come as our Secretary of Education. Look, I believe that what you're teaching here at Susquehanna Township is the foundation for all opportunity in the future. Article 3, Section 14 of our state constitution actually guarantees every Pennsylvania student, not just those of you who are fortunate to be here in this district, but every student across Pennsylvania, a thorough and efficient public education system. A system where all students have a shot. Just a few weeks after I was elected governor, about 3 years ago, a court in Pennsylvania ruled that the way we fund education in Pennsylvania is actually unconstitutional. And it was really unconstitutional for two reasons. Long opinion, but I can sum it up in two reasons. First, we weren't providing enough funding for public education. And second, we weren't driving out those state dollars to the school districts that needed it most. And so at that moment, Democrats and Republicans agreed that we needed to work together to right that wrong, to make sure that we had a constitutional education system. So I wanted to come back about 3 years later and give you a report card on how we're doing. And when I say we, I want to stress it's we. Certainly the good folks at the Department of Education do a wonderful job. We try and do everything we can as the governor. But as you all know, because you've studied civics here, you know that in order for anything to become law, it needs to pass in the House and the Senate, and then it needs to come to my desk. And today we have a really, really important senator and a really important representative who represent you, Senator Kim and Representative Madsen, who saw to it that all the funding gains we've made, all the gains we've made for public education, that those things reach my desk. And I'm grateful to Representative Madsen, grateful to Senator Kim, not just for being here today, but for the hard work you guys have done over many, many years. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you. So in the budget I just signed, we are now investing $12 billion in public education. Let me give you some context of what all that money means, because it's hard to imagine what $12 billion is. That marks a 30% increase over the amount of funding we were putting into public education the day I took office. That is a dramatic increase, and we're incredibly proud of that. But to me, it's not just money that shows up on a balance sheet. It's not just shifting from one pot to another. It's making sure we take those dollars and target it in investments that are really going to make a difference in students' lives, make a difference for teachers, strengthen communities. So these targeted investments have helped us solve real problems in public education. Here's one example. We now provide free breakfast to every student in our schools throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. No child should have to learn on an empty belly. We've used that funding to expand after-school programs, to fund mental health supports funding for special education, as your superintendent referred to earlier, funding for a new student teacher stipend program so that when someone wants to get in the classroom and teach you, we provide them the funding to give them that bridge as they're a student teacher doing that work. We've been able to fund repairing our buildings so students have great places to learn. We've been able to fund doubling the amount of money we put into VOTEC and CTE and career opportunities like Cadet that is here. We've reformed our cyber charter system so that money is not being drained out of our public schools. Someone wants to go to cyber charter school, they can, but they shouldn't be draining all that excess money out of our public schools. All of these are issues that folks in Harrisburg talked about for a long time. Folks in the state capitol talked about for a long time. We came together and we actually got it done. Democrats and Republicans working together to get stuff done. That's the Pennsylvania way. But to me, it's also not just about delivering more funding. It's about fixing the way that funding gets driven out. Remember what I said before? I feel like I'm giving a lesson here. I'm not a teacher, but I'm going to do my best here. Remember what I said before about that court case? We weren't providing enough funding. Okay, we've increased it by 30%, and we weren't driving those dollars out to the districts that need it most. We changed that. We now have in Pennsylvania something that is law called the adequacy formula, which puts the dollars into the school districts that need it most. So school districts actually get their fair share. Let's talk about Susquehanna Township for a moment. As a result of the increased funding and the new formula, Susquehanna Township has seen an increase of 66% when it comes to your state funding allotment. Remember when I said state funding across the board went up 30%? You guys have seen a 66% increase in the amount of funds that come to this school because it had been chronically underfunded. That's an increase of $5 million. When I started as governor, this school district was getting about $7 million. Today, you're getting over $12 million. I wanted to be here today not just to celebrate the additional funding for Susquehanna Township, but I wanted to salute the extraordinary things you all have done here with that increased funding. You've hired 11 additional staff to give students more hands-on help. You upgraded the HVAC system so it's cool in the summer and warm in the winter. You're hiring more school counselors so that students who need to talk about their feelings or talk about challenges, that they have a place down the hall they can go and get the help that they need. You're expanding the CTE programs, including the amazing one I just saw here about the cadet program, where students literally can learn how to be teachers while they're still students. And I got to tell you, these students are pumped up to get in the classroom, and I think it is amazing what you're doing here. I want to see this cadet program be ramped up in other school districts across Pennsylvania. I really think Susquehanna Township is a model for what we should be doing in other school districts across Pennsylvania. I know Dr. Rowe is going to work on that with other school districts. As a result of the increased funding, that cadet program can double in size now. I think that is really cool, and that's going to mean more students like Cole, who you're going to hear from in just a moment, doing wonderful things. It's not just Susquehanna Township that has seen the benefits of this increased funding and the results that come along with it. I want you to consider this for a moment. Across Pennsylvania, 3,000 more students are enrolled in career and technical education, things like the cadet program. 3,000 more students now have the benefit of that because we increased funding. 778 schools have hired more mental health counselors. That's a big deal, more access for mental health services for our students. Last year, we served 93 million breakfasts to students in Pennsylvania. That's incredible. Again, no student should have to learn on an empty belly. And for the first time in years, we are putting more teachers in classrooms. We still don't have enough. We got to continue to build. But, you know, that downward trend has stopped, and now we're growing the number of teachers again. Graduation rates have risen 3 years in a row. We're incredibly proud of that. Consumer Affairs magazine now ranks us one of the top states in the country for a quality public education. That's a heck of a lot of progress. We are proud of that. But we're not resting on our laurels. We got a lot more work to do, and a lot more work we're going to continue to do for years and years to come. And we are showing that here in Pennsylvania, we can solve problems. And here in Pennsylvania, young people are going to be given the freedom to chart their own course and the opportunity to succeed. I'll just say this to close. The budget that I signed into law, a section of which I'm going to sign here today on education, I don't view that as just a set of numbers on a spreadsheet. I think that's a statement of your priorities. I think it's a statement of your principles, of your beliefs. My priorities, our priorities, are the young people of Pennsylvania. It's public education. It's giving everybody a fair shot. That's why we make these investments. It's about finding the ways to incorporate the needs of students and young people and older folks in rural, urban, and suburban communities. Folks who vote for Republicans and folks who vote for Democrats, finding ways to come together to make this progress. You know, I'm a governor that works with a divided government. We've got a Senate led by Republicans, a House led by Democrats. To find common ground is really hard in America today. Yet we're proving in Pennsylvania we can do that. We can compromise without compromising our principles and our values. And I think that's an important lesson in our politics today. And as a result of that good work, as a result of that compromise, good things are happening here at Susquehanna Township and in school districts all across Pennsylvania. I want these schools to be an opportunity for students to learn and to learn about themselves and what motivates them for their futures. And we have a great example of what that looks like. A student who's able to learn in the classroom and learn about themselves and what drives them and what they want to be as they grow older. And a great example of that is Cole Hunsberger. Cole is a member of the cadet program. He got excited about being a teacher, and he got signed up for this program. He signed up for this program. And the first thing they did was they put him in the lunchroom, I learned. And you know, you're thinking, I want to be a teacher, I want to get right in the classroom. You get sent to the lunchroom, and I'm sure Cole will share this story with you, but that was hard. And you know, maybe there were moments where he kind of felt deterred or he wanted to go do something else, but he persevered, he pushed through, and he came out. Now all he wants to do is every aspect of a teacher's job, to engage with young people, to help them be their best selves, and for him to be able to grow up and take what he's been taught here at Susquehanna Township and use those lessons to go and support other young people. That is a righteous, righteous circle. And so I think it is amazing what Cole and the other cadet class members are doing. And ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to bring up one of your own, Cole, to say a few words. Thank you very much. Go get him, Pat. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Governor Shapiro, Secretary of Education, Senator Kim, distinguished guest, and everyone else here today. My name is Cole Hunsberger, and I'm a proud participant in the Susquehanna Township District Cadet Teaching Program. Being part of this program has been nothing but life-changing. It has given me a first-hand look of what it's like to run a classroom. Through this program, I've been able to see what it's like and learn to teach both small group lessons and large group lessons, and I've been able to experience one-on-one time with students, as every student has different learning abilities. These experiences have shown me how different teaching situations require different strategies, and I've learned so much from the teachers and students I work with every day. Including this, I've also learned a lot about classroom management. Going into this, I thought I was just going to be grading work for the teachers, but here I am running the classroom at times, even when the teachers aren't there. Teaching has always been in my future. For years, I've imagined myself teaching. I've never considered another path. There's a picture back from when I was in preschool where we dressed up as what we wanted to be when we were older. I showed up in a blue button-down, some khakis, and a little chalkboard saying I wanted to be a teacher, and that has never changed.
I love that.
I've always felt called to do this work because teaching gives you the chance to help others learn and be the best they can be. It's my passion, and I know it always will be. One of my favorite moments that has come from Cadet, one of many, is that I work with a first grade class most when I'm there. But I've also had the opportunity to go over to a kindergarten class in the modulars and work with them for about 45 minutes, and I get to pull some small groups. With the kindergarten class right now, we were working on our letters and the sounds they make. I had this student who remembered every single letter and the sound she makes, except for one. She could never remember the sound what the letter G make. To her, G didn't make the G sound, G was J. Every time I told her, I said, no, G makes the G sound, but she could never remember that. So one day as we were cleaning up, I told her, I said, all right, anytime I see you in the hallway or I'm in your classroom, I'm going to point to you and I'm just going to ask you, what sound does G make? For about a week and a half, all I did was I asked her, what sound does G make? And eventually, G no longer made the just sound, G was G. And from there on, she's never forgotten that, and I'll never forget that. Seeing her face light up, having that light bulb moment was one of those reasons why I want to do this, to see the students connect the dots and learn from their hard work. It made me feel confident in myself and confident in my student. This program, from my small experience I've had, this program has shown its power, what it can do. It's opened pathways to me and many other students, for some students even changing their career path going into education now. It removes barriers and creates opportunities and experiences we gain to prepare us to make a difference in the future. Thank you, Governor, for investing in the programs like this and support for the next generation of educators. Now, I would like to introduce Secretary of Education, Dr. Carrie Rowe.
Good job. Is that good? Good job. You're awesome. Awesome.
Good afternoon. Before I begin, I want to recognize Cole, who gave that wonderful speech and introduction. You know, Cole is part of that cadet program that gives students the opportunity to get some classroom experience and get high school credit at the same time. And fun fact, I got my start in education in a future teacher program too, where I taught Spanish to elementary schools when I was in high school. And those lessons really helped to shape what came next in my life, everything that came after that. They taught me how to listen intently and how to explain difficult concepts, to break them down into components so that younger kids could understand it. And it taught me how to connect with younger learners. I told Cole this when he said that he had lunch duty as a cadet teacher. I said, only the strongest teachers can survive lunch duty. So they saw something in Cole and knew that he was going to be right for this profession, and I agree. Programs like the cadet program give students that same head start that I had, and I think we need more of them across the Commonwealth. When we talk about the governor's investments in education, we're talking about moments just like that, the one that Cole talked about, the one that I had. We're talking about decisions that can change a student's path before they even walk across the graduation stage. As a newly confirmed Secretary of Education, and perhaps more importantly, as someone who has spent her entire career in schools, I can tell you that those investments are real. They're for real students, they're for real teachers, in real communities just like this one. And they show up when a child walks into a classroom, as the governor mentioned, that's warm in the winter and that's cool enough in the summer. That with lights that are always working and not flickering, and with a roof that doesn't drip when we have our first major rainstorm in the spring. It shows up. These investments show up when a student who's carrying a lot of anxiety or trauma goes into a classroom, and eventually they're able to get the supports that they need from a counselor so that they can then approach their academics in a more steady way, in a more confident way. And the investments show up when a child starts the day with a healthy meal through the Universal Free Breakfast Program, because that might be the first time where the focus can be on something other than the hunger that they're feeling. These investments that we're talking about, they open doors for teenagers who want to learn to weld, or to farm, or to code, or to explore some other aspect of career and technical education, and of course, explore teaching. It makes it possible for students to earn college credit in high school, while it's still possible for them to explore if that particular possibility is right for them. These investments level the playing field so that no matter where a student comes from across our Commonwealth, they have a fair shot at success. And they strengthen the educator workforce so that every child is in front of a skilled and committed teacher who's ready to watch them grow. Across the Commonwealth, we see the impact of the governor's investment in education when we see safer buildings, when we see strong supports in academics and in mental health, when we see more opportunities for students and for teachers, when there's a sense of stability for teachers who want to continue in this field that they love so much. And it shows up for families, a sense of their local pride when they know that they can send their child to a local school and know that that child will be valued and cared for and prepared for their future. So at the Department of Education, our job is to get the governor's investments to the places where they're needed most and to the people who make the magic happen every day. That's the teachers, that's the librarians, and that's the school leaders. We also know that partnership is the only way that this type of progress is really going to stick. So we're proud to stand with all of you in this effort. And we know that whatever investments that we choose to make today are going to shape the future, are going to shape the future of tomorrow. And we know that these investments are already moving Pennsylvania forward. So it's my honor now to turn the podium over to Senator Patty Kim. Senator. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having us here today. Governor's team, great job in picking this school district led by Dr. Willis. Great reputation, great school board, and great commissioners. You don't hear these guys in the newspaper because they're professional. They get the job done without drama, and we really appreciate all your work. And we also want to welcome and thank Dauphin County Commissioner Justin Douglas for being here and for your support. Now, one of the major reasons why I supported this budget bill was to help increase funding for public education and for our students. I voted to increase $40 million in special education funding, to save about $180 million for school districts through the historic cyber charter reform, and to expand mental health services and counselors to about 800 schools. Although this was a bipartisan bill, some folks will still question, why do we still need to spend more money on education? We keep adding more and more money every year. And I think it's really important to give real-life examples and why we need to. After meeting with 7 school districts in my senatorial district 15, I can confidently answer that question. For one, it prevents property taxes from going up. I have a school district that encompasses only 2 small boroughs, and their property tax base cannot keep up with the school district's needs. They need the state's continued support. Or you have a growing population like in Susquehanna Township, and a great reputation, but it's hard to keep up with the needs for additional classrooms and maybe a new field, Dr. Willis. You could probably use a new athletic field. We need to have the support from the state. Or one of my bigger school districts just added 10 new classrooms for children with autism. They had to expand that this year. Another school district paid $1 million in energy costs alone. Can you imagine what's going to happen next year? We have special education teachers who love their job, and they're really good at it. I went to a roundtable where I talked to a lot of these teachers, and it is mentally and physically challenging. We need more special education teachers so that they feel safer, that the kids are safer, and they can do what they do best. Every school district is different, but the need for the state support is the same. The recent increase in education will address many of these issues, and I'm proud to have supported this budget. I want to thank Governor Shapiro and Dr. Rowe for their leadership, and more importantly, I want to thank the school administrators, the teachers, the staff support, the librarians, the coaches, for what you do every day for our students. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I'm now going to turn it over to Governor Shapiro. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Senator. We'll take a few questions from the media if you have them, and then I want to. How about we sign it first, right? You guys want the money, let's sign it, and then I'll be happy to take your questions. Come on.
I will stand right beside you, sir. Yes.
Cole, get on in here. Yeah. Dr. Willis, that's for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do. All right. I'm going to give this to Dr. Rowe. Since she's officially the Secretary of Education, this is the first bill on your watch.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Cole, you want to answer the questions from the press? No, you don't have to. It's all right, my man. You're good. All right. Any questions? We good? Zach?
I got one on-topic question, one off-topic one.
Sure. Let's do on, and then I'll be happy to come back to you.
On topic, now that this last round of budget negotiations are done, how much pushback did you face from Senate Republicans over increasing the adequacy formula? And do you expect similar resistance next year, assuming we're going to be looking at another increase in that funding level?
Look, I don't know that it is useful for me to get into the back and forth we had behind the scenes. I can tell you, as I said throughout the process, we had an honest dialogue. We understood where our differences were, and I fought hard to get this done. You asked me, and others did in the media throughout the process, about why is it taking so long? Why is it taking so long? You know, I wish it didn't take that long. I wish they worked more over the summer. But I also know that I was going to stay at the table and keep fighting for public education in order to get that done. And we did. And we created a bipartisan consensus around that. And I'm grateful for the votes of members of both parties to get this to my desk and now be in a position where we can support school districts like Susquehanna Township. I'll come back to you, Zach. Anything else on topic? Okay, go ahead.
The other thing was Penn State University's new football coach, Matt Campbell, I believe his name is, mentioned that he took the job after you called him to pitch him on it. Can you talk a little bit about how and why you became involved in their coach?
I mean, I was my football skills. No. Sorry, go ahead. I think the coach at Penn State University for football is not only a really important position on field, but it has a really, really important role off the field to not just represent one of the finest universities in the entire country, but at this moment where college athletics are really changing with the NIL, the transfer portal, and so many other challenges in college sports. I think whoever coaches Penn State football has an outsized role in shaping what the future of college athletics looks like. And to me, being the Penn State football coach, probably one of the top 5 jobs in the entire country. And so as Penn State was going through this process and the university really kind of started to focus in on Coach Campbell, the president reached out and asked if I'd be willing to have a conversation with Coach Campbell. And we had a long and lengthy conversation, both as dads of many children. I think he's got 5, I got 4, talking about what it's like raising kids in Pennsylvania, particularly raising kids, you know, in the spotlight that he is going to enjoy at Penn State. Talked about the important role that he's going to have now as not just the voice of Penn State football, but a voice of college athletics. And talking about a number of other, you know, more largely sort of personal issues along the way as he was evaluating whether or not to leave Iowa and take this job here in Pennsylvania. I won't get into all the specifics there, but I can tell you that he not only has an excellent, excellent reputation for X's and O's on the field, this is a man who is ready to lead a big-time program like Penn State. He is a man of principle, a man of faith, and a man who cares deeply about the well-being of his family as he now enters this important role at Penn State. And I really admire that. And so if that conversation was helpful to him in making that decision, I think that's great. And I'm always happy to do what I can to help Penn State and our other state universities excel. And I think this was a really important hire for Penn State and a job well done by President Ben DePuti to land Coach Campbell here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Jackson, go ahead.
You've been the target of several AI-generated videos from other campaigns.
I have been?
Candidates. Yeah.
Oh.
Senator Doug Mastriano, Treasurer Stacey Garrity. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on AI and the role of future elections and how voters and future voters should combat that kind of misinformation.
I haven't seen any of these videos they put out about me. I assume they're not very nice. But look, let me just say, I think what is really, really important right now is that the students here in Pennsylvania can discern fact from fiction, reality from AI. It's one of the reasons why my wife Lori's been helping lead an effort, our First Lady, together with Dr. Rowe and the Department of Education, to have a digital literacy toolkit available to all teachers across Pennsylvania that they can lean on and use in order to educate students on how to best understand what is AI generated and what is real life. And so I think the more teachers can adopt this in their lessons, the more young people can verify information, not just accept it as reality because they saw it on Instagram or something. I think that'll be better for everybody. So I can obviously brush off insults from those on the other side, but the really important thing here is making sure our young people have the tools they need to discern fact from fiction. And the work that the First Lady and the Department of Education are doing, I think, is really important toward that end.
Governor, what's your response to the actions that the state Senate took yesterday in regards to the governor's residence and the funding of it?
You talking about their subpoenas or whatever? I mean, look, 6 months or so ago, a man wielding a hammer, carrying Molotov cocktails, smashed into the governor's residence, tried to burn me and my family to death. And this man tried to hunt me down with a metal hammer to beat me to death while I was sleeping. That's what happened here in Pennsylvania. And that guy is behind bars for up to 50 years. Following that, and the obvious failures that occurred from a security standpoint, PSP went through a long review of all of our different safety and security protocols, conducted a review to make recommendations on how to ensure my family and I are safe, whether we're at the governor's residence or at our home in Montgomery County. And then the state police and the Department of General Services went about implementing all of those recommendations to keep us safe. It is a shame that we live in a world where people who want to serve the public are targeted. I'm not the only one. You've seen just in the last year, President Trump targeted in Butler, Speaker Hortman targeted at her home and killed in her home in Minnesota. The changes that have been made at the governor's residence in our home are not things that we were looking for. No one wants to live behind bulletproof glass. No parent wants to have to explain that to their kid. I want to be able to go in the backyard and have a catch with my kid and not have to be on cameras all the time while I do that. I'm not complaining. I asked to do this work, and I asked to do this work for all of you, and I'm going to keep doing it. But this is a sad reality of the world we're in. It's why I've tried to be so outspoken about political violence. I was with Governor Cox of Utah literally last night at the National Cathedral, having a conversation in front of 1,000 people about what we need to do as a nation to try and get past this and cure the ills and the evils that are claiming the lives of public servants. So if the state Senate wants to play political games here, I think, frankly, it says a lot more about their character and who they are as people than anything else. I want us to be working together to solve this epidemic of political violence, Democrats and Republicans alike. And anyone who's trying to play political games, I think that's quite shameful.
Time for one more, guys. Go ahead, James. I also wanted to ask your response to President Trump's event yesterday and some of his comments and remarks at Mount Airy.
I mean, the president claimed he was coming here to talk about rising costs and what his plan was to address that. And very quickly he veered off topic. And by the way, he started hurling insults at people and making it harder for our country to heal from the sort of political violence that we have seen. He claims that, rising costs are a hoax. I mean, I talk to Pennsylvanians all day, every day. And they're struggling because of these federal policies. They're struggling because of the tariffs the president put in place. They're struggling because of his failed economic policies that gave a tax cut to people who didn't need it and instead has taken health care away from hundreds of thousands of Pennsylvanians. The good news for Pennsylvanians is despite the challenges from the federal government, we're working together, Democrats and Republicans alike, to cut taxes, put money back in people's pockets. We've cut taxes 7 times over the last 3 years. For seniors, for families trying to afford childcare, we just passed an earned income tax credit, working families tax credit, to help 940,000 Pennsylvanians who are working and who need a little bit of extra help. We're investing more in food security while the federal government's taking money away. So costs are rising because of those failed economic policies from the federal government. What I would have liked to see the president do is show up in our Commonwealth, instead of hurling insults, actually show up with plans to reduce costs. That would make people's lives better. I'm prepared to work with the president to do that. I know a number of us are prepared to work with him. Hopefully, he'll develop a plan that's going to make it easier for Pennsylvania families, not harder. Okay? Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.